Yo, what it do? It's your boy T-Lee, and I'm back with another fire reaction. Today we're gonna be doing another NBA episode. That's what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be doing another B-ball explained. B-ball explained. You know what I'm saying? Another chaos one, as you can see by the title. Another crazy one. Every weird NBA story ESPN won't touch with a 10-foot pole. That's crazy. That's crazy. We about to jump into this immediately. You know what I'm saying? But before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on that post notification bell. Let's go and get into this.
Craig Hodges' wife tried to light him on fire. Back in December of
Craig
Hodges' wife tried to light him on fire. Back in December of 1991, Craig Hodges had just dropped off his two sons outside of school in Northbrook, Illinois.
He cheated. He cheated. We know he did. He cheated. Stop playing. Look at me. He cheated.
Pretty routine morning until it completely wasn't. As he stepped out of his car, his estranged wife Carlita was suddenly right there, and not with a clipboard or divorce paper. She allegedly came equipped with gasoline. Yeah, gasoline. Reports say she sprayed or poured it all over Craig, and possibly the car too. Then she tossed not one, but two lit matches at him. The first one flew toward him and fizzled out. The second did the same. Total chaos, but nothing actually ignited. Thankfully, Craig moved fast. He dodged the matches and avoided getting turned into a headline for all the worst reasons. Carlita wasn't done though. Before taking off, she snatched Craig's car keys and sped away in her own vehicle. It felt more like a scene from a crime show than real life. Police caught up with her and arrested her. She got charged with assault, using a deadly weapon, and attempted arson. Then she was out the next day after posting a 100,000.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform.
$1,000 bond. Craig didn't suffer any injuries, which is honestly wild, considering what went down. The reported motive? Apparently she wanted his attention or was overwhelmed by the separation drama. All this happened 6 months after Craig had won an NBA championship with Chicago. Yeah, the man went from a parade to ducking flames outside of school. Nothing about this was normal. Shannon Brown shot at home buyer. On May 2nd, 2020, Shannon Brown was at his home in Tyrone, Georgia. It had a for sale sign out front, and both the gate and the door were reportedly wide open. Late that afternoon, a man and woman who were touring homes saw the sign and figured they'd check the place out. They said they announced themselves while walking in, like any cautious strangers might, and even claimed they heard someone inside say they could come in. Upstairs, they ran into Brown. He was 34 at the time, and clearly not in the mood for unexpected visitors. He showed up holding a rifle. According to reports, he detained them for a bit and then let them go. Sounds tense, right? Well, as they were leaving, things escalated. Brown allegedly fired 5 or 6 shots in their direction.
Damn.
Nobody got hurt, but it definitely wasn't the goodbye they expected. Police showed up and found one shell casing at the scene. That was
He was on that shit.
enough. Brown got arrested and charged with aggravated assault. He posted bond and was out by May 4th. His side of the story? He thought they were intruders. Said he believed they were breaking into the place. The couple insisted they said they were there to look at the house and that he even told them to come in. Brown had been out of the NBA by then, but was still active in the Big Three League. His career had started back in 2006 with stops across 9 teams and 2 championship rings with the Lakers. But on that spring day in Georgia, none of that mattered. That day was about a misunderstanding, a gun, and a whole lot of confusion. John Wall slipped walking to the shower and tore his Achilles. On January 29, 2019, John Wall was just at home trying to shower. Nothing wild, nothing dramatic, until it turned into a disaster. He was 1 month removed from season-ending surgery on his left heel and in the middle of a procedure to treat an infection in the incision. While heading toward the shower, he slipped. That fall ruptured his left Achilles tendon, just like that. He wasn't even wearing his walking boot at the time, which was actually allowed when he was home. According to the team doctor, he didn't hear any dramatic popping sound. The pain just crept in and wouldn't back off. Later, when doctors looked closer, they confirmed the tendon was either partially or fully ruptured. That meant more surgery. That also meant way more time off the court. He ended up missing the rest of the 2018 to 2019 season and then the entire 2019 to 2020 season. Rehab for an Achilles like that was expected to take anywhere between 11 to 15 months. This wasn't just a normal injury. It piled onto the heel surgery, the infection, and everything else going wrong that year. It turned into the worst physical setback of his career. At the time, Wall was still a 5-time All-Star. He was entering the final year of a $170 million contract. The timing could not have been worse. It's one thing to go down during a game, it's
But
another to wipe out
yeah.
at home. On the way to clean off, that fall put his entire comeback
That's
timeline in
crazy.
jeopardy and left the Wizards scrambling. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Denver Nuggets hired a witch to curse a player. Back in the 1975 Western Division Finals, the Denver Nuggets and Indiana Pacers were locked in a tight 7-game series. Pacers won it 4-3, but somehow that's not even the wildest part. According to longtime ABA fans and some particularly spicy stories floating around online, the Nuggets supposedly brought in a witch. Yes, a witch. They called her Rabada, the Wicked Witch of the West. The idea? To jinx George McGinnis, Indiana's star player. It's exactly the kind of thing that sounds made up by a bored intern, except the legend's been passed around enough times, it's taken on a life of its own. Problem is, there's no proof. Not one newspaper from that time mentioned Rabada. No players from either team have confirmed it. No TV footage, no press release, not even a grainy photo of some caped figure waving incense at midcourt. Nothing. Most of what we know, or think we know, comes from fan forums, retro blogs, and stories that start with "I heard." That doesn't mean it didn't happen, but there's a difference between a fun memory and something you can actually verify. The Nuggets losing that series probably didn't have much to do with paranormal interference. Still, fans love this story because it fits right in with the ABA's chaotic anything-goes reputation. Rabada may not have gotten a stat line, but she definitely lives rent-free in the folklore. Ray Allen said he got catfished by a man pretending to be women. In November of 2017, Ray Allen found himself in a Florida courtroom filing an emergency motion to dismiss a stalking claim against him. The accuser, a man named Bryant Coleman, but Allen flipped the script, saying he was the actual victim. According to Allen, Coleman wasn't just some random guy. He allegedly ran a whole catfishing operation, using multiple fake female profiles to trick Allen into online conversations. Allen said he believed he was talking to women. Turns out it was just Coleman behind the screen the entire time. Things didn't end with fake flirty chats. Allen claimed Coleman started posting about his family on social media, tagging himself at Allen's wife's restaurant in Orlando, and trying to stir things up in real life. Even worse, Coleman allegedly threatened to leak private conversations unless Allen gave him something in return. Allen wasn't having it. He took it to court, asking for protection against cyberstalking and extortion. Coleman fired back, saying Allen had actually stalked him, threatened him, and even sent armed people to intimidate him. One filing even accused Allen of wanting to kill him. Media coverage exploded. ESPN, CBS News, Bleacher Report, all the big outlets ran the story. Coleman's wilder claims made headlines, but there was zero hard proof backing them. What made this whole thing so strange was that the supposed stalker turned around and claimed he was being stalked. It was like a legal funhouse mirror with no clear villain, just a tangled mess of fake accounts, threats, and finger pointing in a courtroom where nobody looked good. Adam Morrison refused to shower during the NBA season. During the 2000...
Show ass out. We not allowed, man. You look like a stanky, funky motherfucker. Low-key but loud, stanky motherfucker. Somebody that'll fart. You look like somebody that'll fart. You look like somebody that'll fart and they be like, yo, who did that? Yo, who farted? And you just be sitting there with that same face like...
2008 to 2009 season, Adam Morrison played for the Charlotte Bobcats. That's when teammate Jared Dudley dropped one of the most ridiculous NBA hygiene stories ever.
He looked like the person to sniff it out with that nose. Hell no. He the one that's gonna deal that smell. He the one that's gonna smell that smell. What are you talking about? Yeah, you not getting away with feeling your team. You fart, he's sniffing that shit out immediately.
According to Dudley, Morrison never showered. Not occasionally, not after long flights. Just
Nicky
never.
Mole
Dudley
rap.
told media that Morrison ran with a strict wardrobe policy too. Only 3 polo shirts for the entire season. Same ones, just on loop. And to top it all off, he constantly chewed tobacco and spit wherever he wanted. Dudley straight up called him the most disgusting teammate he ever had. Things got so bad, apparently, that Gerald Wallace had to physically force Morrison into the shower one day. That's not a euphemism. Wallace allegedly had to put hands on another grown man just to make him touch soap and water. This was all said during media day and backed by multiple outlets Like Bleacher Report and the Washington Post, the quotes stayed consistent. The stories
You look
snowballed
like a
into
motherfucker
legend,
that'll be
and no
gone.
surprise, it checks every box for a viral sports tale. Bizarre, petty, weirdly gross, and impossible to fully forget. But there's a catch. Morrison never confirmed or denied it. No interview, no statement, nothing. So it all rests on Dudley's word. That makes it a one-sided tale, not a confirmed fact. Still, it's been repeated so many times that it became part of Morrison's NBA legacy. Whether it was just a joke gone too far or a very real hygiene rebellion, the story's out there.
Yep.
And if true, it's the kind of thing that makes you wonder what else those locker rooms have seen. An earthquake stopped a game. On July 5th, 2019, the Knicks were playing the Pelicans in a summer league game at the Thomas and Mack
Not the
Center in Las
Pelicans.
Vegas.
I'm
Everything
glad
was
they
business as
switched
usual
that.
until the entire
Pelicans.
arena started swaying. A magnitude 7.1 earthquake had just hit near Ridgecrest, California, about 150 miles away. There were 7 minutes and 53 seconds left in the fourth quarter when the floor started moving. That would have been enough.
Yeah, I
But
would've
the
got
real
the
problem
fuck
was
up
the
out of there.
overhead scoreboard. It was
Yeah, fuck
swinging
that
like
game.
it wanted out. Officials immediately stopped the game around 8:20 then.
So,
I would
I'm back.
immediately got out of there. Fuck that.
An
game.
app? I thought you were done meeting people
It's
online.
not worth it.
Never again. I meant Zillow. Look at this cutie.
Oh,
And it's in budget. Check out that bathroom. You ready with me?
Doug.
Are you here for Tracy?
We're here for everyone. Limo and I help people save hundreds by customizing car insurance with Liberty Mutual.
Night. New Orleans was up 80-74 when play was halted. That score ended up being final. The Pelicans got the win, and the rest of the night got weird. Another game between the Suns and Nuggets was canceled, while one next door at the Cox Pavilion kept going because it didn't have a scoreboard dangling from the ceiling. Zion Williamson had scored 11 points in just 9 minutes before sitting with a knee bruise. R.J. Barrett, who had 10, later said he didn't even feel the quake.
He weak as
Frank
hell.
Jackson was the
All
scorer
that
leader
shit,
with
weak
30
as hell.
points. He said it felt like someone was pushing his hip before the shaking took over. Security moved fans out as a precaution. The arena's quick response probably kept things calm. Some fans panicked. Others just stood around wondering how long they were supposed to wait. It was one of the only times a natural disaster stopped an NBA game in progress. A scoreboard swinging mid-game isn't something you train for, but Vegas got its own weird summer league story that night. Hibbert Coin. Back in May of 2014, Chinese NBA fans on a forum called Hoopu came up with one of the most ridiculous and creative forms of
they say.
basketball slander ever, the Hibbert Coin. It wasn't a crypto, it wasn't on any blockchain, it was just a unit of shame. It started after Roy Hibbert's performance took a serious dive late that season. One Hoopu user joked that a player like Omer Asik should be worth 5 Hibberts. Someone else said the Pacers' entire value added up to 46 Hibberts. The forum ran with it. Soon enough, Hibbert Coin was a full meme economy. The coin had a
Dumb
0
ass
inflation
idea,
rate
bro.
because as the joke went, its value never moved. Post described it as the site's official currency. Even Baidupedia had an entry. All of it was satire, but the commitment was wild. The meme didn't stay local. Someone brought it to Reddit's NBA page with a post titled, "Greetings from China," and introduced the West to this beautiful nonsense. Fans on Real GM jumped in too, with the mock conversion rates and investment advice that sounded like a finance code for NBA trolls.
Just
The whole
saying
thing was built
anything.
around the idea that Hibbert's value as a player had cratered so badly, he became his own form of deflationary currency. No one believed it was real money, obviously, but it somehow became one of the most memorable basketball memes of that era. It was a joke
Not believing no nigga that got his hand up. Come on, man.
that ran
Get out of there.
once teamed up for a never cracked because it never rose. Michael Jordan and Antoine Walker played spades for 36 hours straight. According to Walker, he and Michael Jordan once teamed up for a high-stakes spades game that lasted 36 straight hours. No breaks, no sleep, just cards, cash, and an insane amount of pride.
no ass.
The setting?
What
A
you
restaurant.
talking
The buy-in? $20,000 per person. They were facing off against 2 other guys, and it didn't take long before things got brutal. At one point, Walker and Jordan were down $900,000. That's not a typo. 900,000. Walker said he came in with $100,000. Jordan brought $200,000. And when things got dicey, he had another $500,000 delivered by his nephew, cash, to the restaurant, mid-game. They didn't quit. Over the course of a day and a half, they fought their way back from the hole and ended the session only about $20,000 down. It wasn't a win technically, but considering they were nearly $1 million in the red,
Yeah.
it was a pretty ridiculous comeback. Walker claimed Jordan was so wiped out near the end, He was falling asleep at the table. And the timing? This all supposedly went down right before Jordan's press conference in 1995, where he announced his return to the Bulls. Walker even said Jordan pushed the event back so they could finish the game. There's no video, no receipts, no photos,
sure.
just Walker's word. But the stories made the rounds on podcasts, CBS Sports, and Sports Illustrated. And no one involved tested out. A bag of chips helped Morant get discovered. In 2017, Murray State assistant coach James Kane was out scouting a player named Tevin Brown at a low-key basketball showcase in Kentucky. Midway through the day, Kane got hungry and decided to grab a bag of Doritos. On the way back from the concession stand, he wandered past a side gym, just a casual detour. Inside that auxiliary gym, a 17-year-old Morant was lighting it up in a scrimmage. No fanfare, no headlines, just Morant being Morant. Explosive dunks, crazy passes, elite athleticism. Kane stopped in his tracks. He wasn't even supposed to see Morant play that day, but the Chips detour changed everything. Kane immediately knew he'd stumbled onto something big. Morant wasn't ranked nationally, wasn't on draft boards, wasn't getting major offers. But Kane saw the future and offered him a scholarship to Murray State soon after. From there, Morant's rise was ridiculous. At Murray State,
and just doing all the way. He ain't taking it that serious.
he averaged nearly 25 points and 10 assists. The hype skyrocketed. And by the time the 2019 NBA draft rolled around, Morant went number 2 overall to Memphis. That random snack run ended up being the moment that launched one of the most electric careers in recent memory. If Kane hadn't grabbed those Doritos, there's a real chance Morant stays buried in obscurity. No scholarship, no March Madness dominance, no Grizzlies rebuild. So yeah, one bag of chips turned into a franchise-changing discovery. Timing, luck, and a little hunger made all the difference. Butch Carter sued Marcus Camby for calling him a liar. On April 21st, 2000, Raptors coach Butch Carter filed a $5 million defamation lawsuit against former Toronto player Marcus Camby. The suit went to New York Supreme Court in Westchester County and accused Camby of damaging Carter's reputation. The issue? Camby told the New York Daily News that Carter was a liar, claiming no one trusted him or wanted to play for him. He also said Carter promised the Raptors would build around Camby, then traded him days later. That quote didn't land quietly. Carter responded by heading straight to court, right in the middle of the Raptors' first-round playoff matchup against the Knicks. Deputy Commissioner Russ Granick said the lawsuit was unprecedented and highly inappropriate. Other players flat out laughed at it. Knicks coach Jeff Van Gundy thought it was just psychological gamesmanship. Then came the twist. One day, before it even had a chance to go anywhere, Carter dropped the whole thing. On April 20th, he announced the lawsuit was off. He said he'd hoped for an apology from Camby, but since that wasn't happening, he admitted the whole thing was a mistake. Bringing the courthouse into the locker room was not the best way to address this, he said. The fallout didn't help the Raptors. They were swept by the Knicks in that series, and Carter was fired 2 months later. Whether it was strategy, frustration, or self-promotion tied to his autobiography, the lawsuit became a lasting part of Carter's strange exit from coaching. It remains one of the few times an NBA coach sued a player, and probably the only time it backfired in under 24 hours. Jaden McDaniels broke his hand, punching a wall. On April 9th, 2023, in the Timberwolves' final regular season game against the Pelicans, Jaden McDaniels let his frustration get the best of him. Late in the first quarter, after picking up his second foul, he stormed off toward the tunnel and punched a concrete wall. Not padding, not drywall, concrete. Cameras later caught him holding his right hand on the bench. He iced it, looked miserable, and didn't return for the rest of the game. After x-rays, the news got worse. He'd fractured the 3rd and 4th metacarpals in that hand. That was it. Season over. Minnesota actually won that game, 113-108, locking in the 8th seed in the Western Conference. But even with that win, the team walked into the play-in, while missing a top-tier defender and one of their most consistent two-way players, and McDaniels wasn't the only one throwing punches that day. Rudy Gobert swung at his own teammate, Kyle Anderson, during a huddle. He got sent home mid-game and was suspended for the first play-in matchup. The Timberwolves weren't just limping into the postseason. They were imploding on camera. McDaniels' injury wasn't tactical or unfortunate. It was completely avoidable. In a tight postseason race, that punch might have been the most damaging play of the game. He wasn't just out for that night. He missed the entire postseason run. For a team depending on perimeter defense to survive the play-in, losing McDaniels to a self-inflicted injury was brutal timing. That wall didn't move, and the Timberwolves paid for it. Chris Webber produced music for Nas back in the mid-2000s. Chris Webber, yes, that Chris Webber, went from running the offense to running beat machines. Most fans knew him as an all-star forward, not a hip-hop producer. But in 2006, his beat ended up on Nas's album, Hip Hop Is Dead. The track, Blunt Ashes, Webber didn't just get a pity placement either. He was officially credited as a producer on that song. The next year, Nas dropped Greatest Hits, and Webber's name showed up again. He co-wrote and produced Surviving the Times. This wasn't some post-retirement hobby. Webber learned production skills the old-school way, spending summers in New Jersey with DJ KG from Naughty by Nature. That's where he picked up how to build beats and how to get people to take him seriously outside of basketball. In interviews, Webber said working with Nas was one of the biggest accomplishments of his life. Not dunking on defenders, not going first overall, not the Fab Five legacy, making beats for Nas. Fans online were stunned. Reddit threads lit up with people saying they had no clue Webber was behind those tracks, but music sites like Who Sampled and Wikipedia confirmed the credits. There's no mystery. It's official. So yeah, while most NBA players try to rap after retirement, Webber quietly went the opposite direction. He helped create 2 real songs for one of the greatest lyricists in the game. It wasn't just a flick. It was a full crossover into hip-hop history, and the beats hold up. The Knicks got busted for tampering with Jalen Brunson. In August 2022, the NBA launched an investigation into the Knicks after they signed Jalen Brunson in free agency. The league wanted to know if New York jumped the gun. Basically, if they talked to Brunson before the June 30th deadline when free agency officially opens. Spoiler, they did. Several red flags were already out there. The Knicks hired Rick Brunson, Jalen's dad, as an assistant coach before free agency started. Knicks president Leon Rose, he used to be both Rick and Jalen's agent. And just to keep the optics spicy, Knicks execs like William Wesley and Allen Houston, along with Julius Randle, were spotted courtside at a Dallas playoff game while Brunson was still playing for the Mavericks. By December, the NBA ruled. The Knicks violated the timing rules. The result? They lost a second-round pick in 2025. That was it. Analysts called the punishment a joke. 1 second-rounder isn't exactly a career ender, especially when the player you got in return averaged over 20 points and 6 assists in his first season and helped lead your team to a top 6 seed. Sure, there were concerns about optics. Critics pointed to how tight the web was. Former agent turned president. Father hired a staff, scouting that looked more like poaching. But the Knicks got their guy. Since then, they've tried to tweak Rick Brunson's role to avoid the word nepotism from floating back into headlines. Jonathan Simmons paid to try out for the NBA in 2013. Jonathan Simmons wasn't on any draft boards, wasn't getting invites, and wasn't playing overseas. He was just a guy with a dream and $150. So he spent it on a tryout for the Austin Spurs, the G-League affiliate of the San Antonio Spurs. There were about 60 other guys at that open tryout. Simmons wasn't the tallest, the flashiest, or the most hyped, but he made an impression. He earned a roster spot and started grinding through the G League. In his first season, he averaged around 10 points per game. Nothing wild, just steady production. The next year, he took another step. 15 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and a reputation for solid defense. He was named to the all-defensive third team. Then came the summer, and Simmons showed out in the summer league. That performance led to his first NBA contract. The Spurs brought him in, and just like that, he went from pains to play to earning real NBA minutes. He stuck around for multiple seasons, and in 2017, the Orlando Magic gave him a contract worth $20 million. This wasn't some top draft pick story. It wasn't the 5-star prospect pipeline. This was a guy who literally bought his shot with $150 and refused to waste it. Simmons didn't just make it, he made it count. Most people spend $150 on shoes.
Spend less on your kids with Amazon's low back-to-school prices.
What?
The Frame Pro with wireless One Connect box.
Or tickets. He used it to buy a future in the NBA. That's not hustle. That's belief with a receipt. Dave Cowens drove a cab in Boston in the mid-1970s. During a short break in the season, Celtics legend Dave Cowens decided to take a night off from being a 6'9" NBA superstar and spent an evening driving a cab. Seriously. he paid $35 to join Boston's Independent Taxi Operators Association, which gave him the right to keep any fares he picked up. Then he and a friend hit the streets, roaming the city in a taxi and picking up around 15 passengers over the course of the night. No one recognized him, not one person. That's despite the fact he was literally one of the biggest and most famous people in town, physically and professionally. He wore a baseball cap to blend in, which is kind of adorable, considering how hard it is to disguise a 6'9" redhead in a confined space. Cowan said he did it purely out of curiosity. No money issues, no weird PR stunt. He just wanted to experience what driving a cab in Boston was actually like. According to Cowans, he enjoyed the ride and found it amusing that nobody had any idea who was chauffeuring them around. It wasn't a second job or some mysterious side hustle. It was a one-night thing, just for fun. A random whim that gave Cowans a quick glimpse into a different world. He played hard, lived strange, and once chauffeured strangers through Boston for kids. Dave Cowans was built different. Spencer Haywood was kicked off the Lakers during the finals. In the middle of the 1980 NBA Finals, Spencer Haywood hit rock bottom, right as his team was chasing a championship. He was battling a serious cocaine addiction that had taken a toll all season. During practices, he'd fall asleep. Before Game 3 of the Finals against Philadelphia, he passed out during a workout. That was it. Coach Paul Westhead suspended him after that game, and the rest of the Lakers reportedly voted to support the move. Haywood was kicked off the team mid-finals, right before they closed out the title. He didn't get a championship ring. He wasn't invited to the parade. His name didn't get celebrated with the rest of the roster. Years later, Haywood admitted that the moment pushed him into some dark thoughts. He even said he briefly considered hiring someone to hurt Westhead. The plan didn't go anywhere. His mother convinced him to step back. After the suspension, Haywood left for Italy and played overseas for a short stretch. He later returned to the NBA, finished his career with the Bullets, and eventually got his life together. He's been sober for decades now and works as an advocate for addiction recovery. That finals benching wasn't just a team decision, it became a turning point in his life. He missed a title, missed a celebration, and nearly lost himself completely. But he clawed his way back and lived to tell the story. For Haywood, getting cut wasn't the end. It was the wake-up call. Larry Bird got the Hawks bench fine. On March 12th, 1985, Larry Bird absolutely torched the Atlanta Hawks for 60 points in a neutral site game down in New Orleans. He was hitting every fadeaways, deep threes, left-handed floater. The Hawks couldn't stop him, and by the end, they weren't even pretending to try. The wild part wasn't just the scoring, it was the Hawks bench reaction. As Bird kept lighting them up, players on Atlanta's sideline started laughing, high-fiving, and straight up celebrating his shots. They were losing their minds every time Bird hit another impossible jumper. Wilkins later said the bench was so into it, he made sure the fine actually happened. Yeah, you read that right. He helped make it happen. Head coach Mike Fratello was furious. He called it unprofessional and fined every player on the bench $500. We're trying to beat these people, he said. We're not going to the movies to enjoy a show. Bird's performance was so ridiculous that even the opposing team couldn't help but admire it in real time. But Fratello didn't care how special it was. To him, it was about keeping that competitive mindset, even if you were watching one of the most unstoppable nights in NBA history. That game still stands out, not just because of the 60 points, but because the Hawks literally got fined for being too impressed. Larry Bird didn't just break records that night, he broke the opponent's will and their composure. No tipping Pippen. Scottie Pippen's reputation for being a notoriously stingy tipper isn't some internet myth. It's been confirmed across decades, cities, and sources. Back in 1997, Sports Illustrated listed him by name in an article about bad tippers, saying staff at a South Florida restaurant reported zero gratuity. He made their skinflint list alongside other tight-fisted legends. Fast forward to 2014, Charles Barkley went on Conan and without hesitation said, "There's nobody cheaper than Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan." According to Barkley, that frugality is part of how they kept their wealth, but the tone wasn't exactly complimentary. Then there's the valet story from Chicago's Hard Rock Hotel. Workers there gave him the nickname No Tippin' Pippin after he tipped just $6 to move his massive Hummer H2. That's $6 for a full valet experience. Not exactly baller behavior. Online stories pile on. Reddit threads. Real GM forums. People share first-hand or second-hand accounts from restaurant servers, hotel staff, even other players. One common theme, Pippen expected big-time service, but rarely left anything behind. Horace Grant is even quoted as confirming it. This isn't some exaggerated fan tale. It's a reputation that's followed Pippen for decades. Between media reports, celebrity call-outs, and actual hotel workers giving him a nickname, the pattern's too consistent to ignore, no tipping. Pippen didn't come from nowhere. It came from a history of stiff servers.
He really was out there not tipping. He was like, hell no.
Couldn't help but laugh about it later. The almost Nova Knicks. In the summer of 2024, the Knicks looked like they were building the ultimate chemistry experiment, a full-blown Villanova reunion. They already had Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. Then they traded for Bridges. That was 3 key players from the Wildcats' 2016 championship team. The final piece was Devo. Once he signed, fans dubbed them the Nova Knicks, convinced the chemistry from college would finally fuel something special in New York. But before the group ever played a single minute together, the whole thing fell apart. In late September, the Knicks pulled off a blockbuster deal for Karl Anthony Towns. The price? Julius Randle and Devo. Just like that, the Nova core was broken before it even took the court. Fans were gutted. ESPN called it the greatest Knicks team that never was. GQ said it looked perfect on paper, but got erased before we ever saw the blueprint in action. Even Magic Johnson chimed in months later, saying the team lost its swagger when they gave up Devo's toughness and scoring off the bench. The trade might have made sense on paper. Superstar in, depth out, but it also killed one of the most hyped reunions the franchise had seen in years. So yes.
That money be talking, man. But let me know which one was the most craziest one to you. Appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on that post notification bell. You already know we're on that road to 100K subscribers. And I'm out.